A lot of my friends and family have reached out over the past few days to ask me what's been going on with this upcoming rail strike. Obviously, everyone's really concerned for good reason. This will be really disruptive for the country. And, instead of just constantly typing out the same stuff, I figured I'd make a quick video. Maybe people could share it to kind of get the message out. For those who don't know, I'm a freight conductor. I work in Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania, running freight trains all up and down the line. And I've been doing this for about a year now, and I'm pretty dialed into the issue, what's going on. So there's a lot of misconceptions out there, and those misconceptions are going to be purposefully they're intentionally misleading, and they're coming in from the railroad. Obviously there's two sides. There's the railroads and the unions. For those of you who confused, which railroad is it? It's all the railroads. The railroads negotiate together, and all of the workers for all the railroads negotiate together. And it's for complicated reasons why it's done this way, but that makes up for a lot of the problem. So real quick, what you're going to hear starting out is you're going to hear that the railroaders have been offered a 24% pay raise, and that it's the most generous pay raise in history, and we're all we're all spoiled and we're all asking for too much. That's entirely misleading, and it's bordering on a lie, but it's got just enough shade of truth in it to be accurate. So I don't want to start with pay, though, because pay is not actually what's at issue. The pay needs to be better than that. But if that was what was offered, a lot of guys probably would be settling by now. There's a good chance that the strike wouldn't be happening. So when you read on a slightly pro-businessy website that the railroaders are getting 24%, that's not the case. And that's actually, or we are sort of being offered that. Again, I'll explain that in a sec, but that's not why the strike is coming about. The reason the strike is coming about is due to attendance policies. And I have to back up a little bit and give a little bit of background. About 5 years ago, the railroads, it's a real short version of it, but the railroads were bought out by investment groups, and they brought in a team that set up a new method of working on the railroad called precision schedule railroading. It's a complicated thing, and it's kind of intentionally complicated. But what you need to know about what they did with precision schedule railroading is they basically figured out what the most amount of work can be done with the fewest amount of people. And so that process resulted in cuts to tens of thousands of jobs. This happened several years ago. And since then, the railroad has demanded that the workers make up these jobs, make up for the work that was lost from these jobs by just increasing the amount that you do, right? That might also give you a little detail into the pay there. So there should be a pay raise because we're asking to work more. But with that change in policy resulted in basically the railroad dialed themselves down to what's the closest we can get to what's the fewest amount of people we can get before it's an emergency, and then add 2 people, and then that's about where we're at. So if anyone takes a day off, the whole system gets screwed up. Well, to enforce that, they've applied some really heinous attendance policies. It's basically impossible to get a day off work. Now, again, you might find from some pro-railroading sites, and there are people out there who are getting paid by the railroad to write some atrocious articles about us. They're lies. The raw facts on the ground. These are the raw facts. I am given 3 days off a year. 1, 2, 3. That's it. Those are not sick days. And I'm only able to take those days off if I request them in advance, and they can be denied for any reason. They always are. They can just basically say, nope, we need everyone maximum effort at all times. And they pretty much always do that. It's very rare to get a personal leave day scheduled. They essentially grant like one personal leave day per division. So you're competing with 40 other guys or 50 other guys to get that leave day. You're not going to get it. I get 3 of them. Now, when you work later on, you can get, 1, 2, 3 weeks of vacation a year. But there are no sick days. Not only are there no sick days, and I don't just mean no paid sick days, right? Like, because you should get paid time off if you're sick. That's a pretty basic thing. We all get that, right? It's not only that we don't get the sick days, we're not allowed, we're assessed attendance points, which can result in disciplinary action. COVID aside, which you can kind of sneak in there, I was assessed. I had basically 3 days where I was assessed to be on leave or sick this year. That and one what they call miscall, which was, as I explained to my boss, was a result of their calling system actually malfunctioning. I was given a day's punishment where I lost a day's pay. Actually, I lost more than a day's pay because of the way we're paid out here. It's complicated. I don't want to get into it. When I get a call, this is something else really need to be understood. When I get a call, I go to work for 12 hours. I'm in the hotel for a minimum of 12 hours, often as many as 36 hours. And then I have a 12-hour drive back. So I'm gone at least 36 hours. Now, folks, you need to know I'm a father. I've got 4 kids, and those kids are the love of my life. And, I'm married, and I don't get to see my family. It is currently Wednesday night, 7 p.m. that I'm making this video. Since Sunday, which was my off day, I get 1 off day a week. We're on call 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. And you're not even really off a day, you're off a 24-hour period, starting at midnight one night, midnight to the next night. So if you want to have a beer, start at midnight because you need to be sobered up by the next night. Well, as I was saying, it's 7 o'clock on Wednesday night. I spent Wednesday with my family. I spent Sunday with my family. Put my kids to bed at about 8 o'clock, 8:30 because it was a school night. I haven't seen my kids except for an hour since Sunday night. That's what we deal with out here. So that's the key thing. Now, I'm trying to keep my videos short so that it's digestible for people, and I'm already way longer. But you need to understand that's the problem. Okay, so what the union specifically is objecting to in this, and what we're specifically striking for, is to remove some of the attendance policies that allow us to just take time off without getting punished further. Now, ironically, the way they punish you is they don't allow you to work for a day. So this is not a game this isn't actually about maximum attendance, because they wouldn't really punish you that way. It's a lot about control, and they want to have it their way. Okay, and I'm not being fussy when I say that. That's what they're doing. It's extraordinarily unethical. Regarding the pay, it is a 24% pay increase over the life of the contract. It comes out to about 2 to 3% a year. I believe 2021 is about 7 or 8% because of the inflation rates. And so if you consider that if you get 2 to 3% a year plus 1 year 7%, the percentages add up. So from, I believe the contract starts in 2017 to when it ends in 2024, it's 24% from 2017 to 2024. It's not a 1 year pay raise of 24%. You really need to have that. I mean, that's it, right? This contract, this 24%, will result in um, essentially keeping up with inflation. It will basically mean we're being paid the same as 2017. Now, if you're paying attention to this, I'm sorry, a little bit too long video, the 2017 was about the time precision schedule railroading took over, and the railroads demanded that we do more work for the same pay, and that's unethical. And we have no bargaining position. For those of you who are thinking, well, why don't you just get another job? Remember, I told you the unions or the railroads all bargain together. I work in Virginia mostly, and sorry about the cicadas. I work in Virginia mostly. If I were to drop what I'm doing and move back to my home state of California, I would just be working under the same contract, exact same contract, from CSX to BNSF or Union Pacific. It's all the same stuff. There's nowhere I can go. It's the same problems everywhere. Not only that, the way you make your life better in the railroad is you get seniority. I'm fairly new. I have a little bit of seniority because we've hired a lot this year because they can't hold on to people. If I were to switch over, trying to look for greener pastures, I'd simply be starting from the beginning with no seniority, and therefore I would have nowhere to go. I would have my life would be more difficult, right? There's no greener pasture to go to. If you are if this is your career, right? If this is what you bring, this is how you pay your bills. I'm fortunate. I'm going to be moving on very soon. Very soon. I've only been doing this for about a year. I have other skills and other licenses and certifications that I'll be able to take, get back into my preferred career field. This has been putting food on the table, and it was an experiment that went wrong. A lot of these guys don't have it. They've been doing it since they're 20 years old. Everyone who's out here is smart. Not most of them are not bookishly inclined. So that's it. These guys don't have anywhere to go, and the only recourse of action is to strike. It's the only thing we can do. They can't go it's a strike or go somewhere else. And let me tell you, thousands are leaving the railroads right now. Part of the reason that everything you're paying for is costing more is because the railroads are in a desperate situation, and they're completely falling apart because people with 20 years on the railroad are finding new jobs. That's unethical, or that's a shame. So yeah, the pay. Just to highlight that a little bit further. 5 years ago, these guys were working about 8-hour days, and now they're working 12-hour days. How would you like it? What would you do if somebody came to you and said, "I'm going to pay you essentially the same paycheck, but instead of you working 8-hour days, you're going to work 12, and I'm not going to pay you any different, barely any different, and you have no choice in the matter. And if you don't like it, oh well, go find another job." And you can't take your skills, and there are a lot of skills. You need to be really knowledgeable to work out here. There's no other recourse of action. That's just it. And again, you're going to hear like railroaders make $100,000 a year. Some do. Many do. I would make close to that if I stayed with this. I work about 110 hours a week. So this is more like, that's just, it depends on how you count it out. I've been gone for 2 days now. I worked Monday. I got home right away, and then, but my kids were asleep. So, you work brutal hours out here, and I'm subject to being on call 24 hours a day, and I'm not exaggerating. And the calls come in at all different times. So you might get back, go to sleep. You might be off for 24 hours, not knowing when a call is coming. In fact, I've been off for now like 18 hours in a hotel. When I say off, so I'm at a hotel in the middle of nowhere right now, waiting to go home. Not really getting paid for this time. We get paid for part of the time. So we're getting paid for that inconvenience and the time away from our families. Yeah, so that's what you need to know about this. I hope this is helpful. Share the video. I'll make it public. I want people to understand that, like, these are not spoiled children making 6 figures a year. Like, this job is brutal. It's dangerous. Men have not been going to the doctor because of these attendance policy. There are people in my area. I work near DC, who died because they got a cut, and the cut got infected, and they got blood poisoning. There are guys who have, on accident, not been too tired and walked into a oncoming train, and, like, not suicide, just made a mistake, completely by accident, were killed. That's happened multiple times. Happens all the time. Railroaders are killed. Dozens of railroaders are killed every year. And many more just drop dead from being sick. This is a brutally hard job. And my background, for those of you who don't know, I was in the Army for 11 years. I had 3 combat deployments. The railroad treats us way worse than the Army ever did. I would rather deal with the Taliban any day of the week than deal with railroad senior management. They're nasty people. If you're religious, pray for us. It's a hard thing. Guys aren't going to be making a paycheck. And they're not trying to screw you over. They're not spoiled. This is a brutally hard time for us, and it's a difficult decision. So yeah, that's what's going on with the railroads. And anyone got any questions, I'd be happy to answer beyond that. I can go in more detail. I try to keep my timer saying this is 17 minutes long. It's way longer than I intended, but I was trying to be as clear without being long-winded as possible. So yeah, thanks for listening.